Hello and welcome to the Agri-Works podcast. We are here at what is a slightly windy cereals and I am joined by the lovely Mary. So I'm going to hand straight over to you for an introduction. Can you just give me a bit of a whistle-stop tour of your background and what you do?
Yeah, so my background is farming. I grew up sort of family farming and then went to Harper, started working in agricultural machinery, part of my placement, and then kind of naturally fell into that world. And so, ever since I sort of graduated from university, I've kind of started sort of working with machinery really. And I then decided to then go out on my own and set up my own business, which is now 6.5 years ago. I now work with probably just over 10 clients across the UK and Ireland, just doing marketing for agricultural machinery dealers and a few manufacturers as well.
Okay, let's start with that sort of difference between working in-house for a machinery company brand, because you've worked with some interesting ones, versus doing it sort of on the outside as such.
It's very different because obviously you're not working with one person, so it's very hard to manage expectations because I'm working with lots of different clients as a freelance person would be. It's quite different because I'm working with a multitude of brands, agricultural, ground care, so it's quite hard because you've still got to keep everyone happy. From a dealer perspective, you've got to keep a lot of manufacturers happy. From the manufacturer perspective, you've got to make sure the dealers are doing the right things to abide by their standards and stuff like that. So I think my sort of angle and my unique part of what I do is the fact that I have worked in those businesses. So I feel like I do understand it from the point of view of what the manufacturer needs and wants, but also I'm very passionate about the identity of the dealer and how important that is. I really believe that the local dealer should not be known as the John Deere dealer or the Claas dealer. They should be known as who they are in their own right, because that's who the customer comes back to time and time again. So I'm extremely passionate about dealer identity, and so I do love working with the dealers. But yeah, it's a juggle.
I'm going to go in two different directions, but we're going to start with the dealer side, because I think that's a really interesting point in that having their own, that sort of idea of having their own identity, because you're right, there is such a tie-in with the brands that they sell.
Yeah.
Have you found going into any of those dealerships that you're kind of having to push that, or is it something they already want to do and you're just helping?
Yeah, I think I always say all the manufacturers want a piece of the pie. So it's quite difficult sometimes. Some dealers will have 5 manufacturers, some will have 10. And so it's quite difficult to sort of, that they're saying to me, Mary, so-and-so wants us to do this, so-and-so wants us to do that. So I'm trying to satisfy that. But I'm trying to also make them, like kind of what you said really, is believe that how important it is that they should be pushing their own brand as awareness and just kind of making sure that when they're out and about, that people know that all these brands come under the dealer, because like I said, they might change brands tomorrow, but it's the dealer brand that the customer keeps coming back to. I always say that the customer's not ringing up the manufacturer on a Sunday morning when their scraper tractor's gone down, they're ringing the local dealer. So that's why I think, the dealers that I work with specifically have definitely become more aware of that. And I think they appreciate me coming in and kind of championing them as a brand as well.
Yeah, and really pushing their own voice within
definitely
what is quite a lot of these brands, quite big voices kind of coming on top of them. So if we look at a relationship that you have with one of the dealers, what kind of work are you doing?
It can range. So a lot of people are asking for social media because, we know how big that is and we do see results from it. Predominantly a lot of people want me to just manage their social media. They don't want to have to worry about it. And from so a lot of manufacturers do ask dealers to post certain content. So that would be me ensuring that that goes out and the right times and collaborating and campaigns and stuff. But then also from an content perspective of their own content and the dealer actually doing their own stuff, and I would also do that. So I'd go out and do content days with them to try and get a bank of content, and then hopefully that would last us a good couple of months. And then I also do a lot of like website maintenance for them, ensuring that everything's kept up to date, news and stuff, because trying to ensure that they understand how important it is to keep the website up to date. News from the manufacturers, news from them, because I think dealers are really bad at shouting about their own wins. I mean, we all are, but I
think that's just general.
I think in general, we're not great, are we? So I think I'm always like, no, let's get that on the news section, because it's all helps in terms of that whole brand perspective. Social media, website maintenance. I do a bit of design for the dealers as well. So I've just recently done a 20-page brochure for show season for one of my dealers. And then in general, just, like for someone like a manufacturer like Deutz Fahr, be working with them quite closely, in terms of campaigns and what they're trying to, wanting to push out and stuff in terms of a PR perspective. So, but kind of very vast, I get calls all the time like, what do you think of this? And I'm like, oh gosh, and so it's very vast, but I love that because I feel like they put a lot of trust into me, and I hope I'm doing a good job of it.
From the outside you are.
That's great.
What goes on. And you're at events a lot like today. What's key from a machinery perspective in terms of that content capture?
I think when you're at an event, you've got to utilise the fact that you've probably got staff from all over the place in one place at one time. So like today, we've done content that we can use in a couple of weeks' time, a couple of months' time, that doesn't reference the show, that doesn't so that we can build batch cook a bit of content, which always helps. But I think as well, like just in general, like being on the stand, getting stories out there on social media, making sure that, you're showing customers that you're here. And I think as well, again, it comes back to this whole identity thing. There's real people behind this brand. They're on the stand, you can chat to them. And I think that's really, really important. So just, communicating that really, like we've had the business owner chatting, saying, come to our stand and stuff like that, and just so that people know that there is actually recognisable faces. And sometimes I think a lot of people get nervous to walk on a show stand, and so they might have, it's an icebreaker to go, oh, I saw your video this morning on Facebook and I just wanted to come and see, I didn't know you had that on the stand.
Doesn't matter how many shows like this you wander around, if you get to a stand, there is that initial
Absolutely. I'm still I was at a stand when I know loads of people on it, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to go. Like you still get that.
It's that sort of, I don't know what the feeling is.
I don't know what it is.
It does make you hesitate.
I'm glad it's not just me.
No, not at all. I've spent most of the day doing it.
Okay.
But that putting faces to names, especially when it comes to the dealers, where, as you say, they are the phone call that's made by customers when something's gone wrong or where they want advice or to get something new.
Yeah.
To be able to have somebody answer the phone and say, I've seen you at a show or I've seen you on socials, I think makes...
Definitely. And I think like from a manufacturer perspective, I'm working with two global manufacturers on a UK level, and we've massively seen the value in showing them as real people, because as much as you need to be corporate to a degree, I think we're living in a world very digitally now where people need to see that there is a face behind a brand, because we don't see that a lot. When you want to call someone about your fridge, you speak to a robot, or you speak to, so I think people crave that human interaction. And so I think to showcase that there is people behind the brand, even if it is a manufacturer, is really important.
It's a really interesting concept that I was speaking to somebody else about, where you watch other industries in terms of how they're building this sort of community that everyone keeps talking about, and everything is digital, and it's how do we turn this into like an actual community, and events coming in. And in agriculture, we've kind of got it the other way around.
Massively.
Where events like this are so
and still important.
Big, important.
Yeah, absolutely.
You see so many people, you sort of smile and wave and chat to everyone as you're going past.
Yeah.
We kind of then need to convert that
definitely
into something that's slightly more got more touch points.
Yeah, exactly. And, we know that the average age of a farmer is still, 50s, 60s. So we've got to ensure that we still have those touch points. And I think as well, like, agriculture is still very much a people buy from people industry. So okay, gone maybe are the days where you'd sell something off the stand, but having that awareness of your brand at a show for the farming community is still definitely important.
And as much as, and I'm somebody that says it a lot, that farmers are sceptical when it comes to buying new things and new products, and they want to know what's going on and all the ins and outs of it, purchasing decisions are still quite emotionally driven, and a lot of that comes from the relationships that you built with a dealer
definitely.
or with the person sometimes in that dealership. Have you seen any change sort of over the 6 years that you've been freelance in how people are approaching buying what is quite expensive?
Yeah, I definitely think you're right. I think, and sometimes you have to remember that some relationships will take years. Like it's especially a big ticket item like a large horsepower tractor or something. It could take a couple of years, but I think as well that is the uniqueness of our industry, is that you're in it for the long haul. I think things have changed. People are using, I would say, influencing decisions has definitely changed in terms of online, YouTube, like all that sort of stuff. Like people are seeking thoughts of YouTube, TikTok, and stuff like that. And I think that that's definitely changed. And so I've definitely seen a shift recently with definitely the dealers, that we're doing a lot more. I'm not a huge fan of doing massive sales promotion on social media because I don't think that's what it's about. Well, it isn't what it's about. But we have seen value and we have seen sales from doing that 20% versus 80%, awareness. I think that 20% sales, we have seen, it work. And I think that's really shifted the dealer's perspective as well, because they've had to become, like I have a dealer now where they actually, part of their salesman's sort of monthly target is how many videos are you sending to Mary, how many walkarounds are you doing, how many, and so they are now judged that as part of their job. Because obviously I'm working remotely with a lot of people. There is people I work with that are down the road, but then I have a dealer in Northern Ireland. So, it's again, managing expectations. But we just try and get as much valuable content out there as possible because we know it works.
And I guess that then goes into, especially on the social side, the balance between professional content that you will come out for a content day and shoot versus user generated, whether that is a farmer that's got the piece of kit or somebody from the team.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
Sort of getting it on a phone that's maybe not as professional as you do, but actually rough around the edges in that sense.
And sometimes, and I always say, I'm not a videographer, I'm not a professional photographer, I've been in marketing over 10 years now, but I turn around content in a reasonable time that is polished to the degree of which it suits the people I work with. So, I'm not saying that I'm going to do a cinematic, like 3-minute video or something. We get stuff done, it works, we see the numbers, we monitor what works. And so I think that that's important as well, is nothing in this industry has to be too polished. And I think people like that. Like I love including a little bit of a funny thing in a video or something. I think I did a video the other day and one of the salesmen ran over to put a cap on the customer of the brand. And I kept it in because I just thought and it's relatable, it's funny, people like to see it. Nobody wants to just watch a video of just like...
It's getting that balance right of sort of a little bit of everything so that you're painting the full picture and the full story. And I think the human element of that and the personalities behind it is really key. You are dependent then, as you've said, on sort of content being sent to you. How, sort of back to a marketing side, I guess, how do you balance that in that kind of when it's not somebody's job getting content from people
having good relationships because you have to badge them, but also I think as well, WhatsApp's a huge thing. We use group chats and stuff. I mean, some dealers, I'm getting 150 WhatsApps every 2 days. It's it's mad, but it's also showing them it works. So I think when they can see that something works, they're more inclined to do it. Some of them absolutely hate it. Sometimes I go to a dealership, they see me arriving and they're like, I'm going out in the van, because they just don't want to be involved at all. in terms of them sending me stuff, I just, I try to have like a relationship, pick up the phone, speak to them, and just say, and also, like we were saying before, there's a lot driven from the manufacturer now. So sometimes it's a case of we're being judged, the manufacturer is judging us on whether we're going to be promoting this product. We need to get some content done. So
how does that work then in terms of who gets the final say with certain things? Because I guess it goes down to this whole brand guidelines, like ticking
100%,
all those boxes.
And that is probably another thing where like sometimes it's just like my mind's just mad, because some clients are like, Mary, you do what you need to do and we'll leave you to it, that's fine. And I have instilled my own brand guidelines for individual clients, because that's just not something they would do. So just gone, this is what we need to use. But then, for instance, with the manufacturer, there is obviously like bodies in Europe or who would need to have final say over things. We obviously all have the brand guidelines and stuff like that, so that we can make sure we abide by them. So it's definitely dependent on the client. I'm very lucky that a lot of the people I work with kind of just trust me and leave me to it. But again, I think like I would say all of my work, even through manufacturers, has come through word of mouth. So there is a relationship there where hopefully they do put some trust in me, that they know I'm not gonna stitch them up or anything like that.
This might be a silly question and down to my lack of understanding, but is it just specific elements where it has to go through that sort of layer of approval?
No, not everything.
Okay.
Yeah, no. So even like, some of the global guys that I'm working with, it's just certain bits, just ensuring that it's abiding by aligning with their message and all that sort of stuff. So probably I would say only 20%, needs to go through them. So I'm still very much left to be independent. But like with some clients, I'll have weekly meetings with them. We'll go through what's coming up. They have access to the platform that I use to put everything out online, so they can see whenever they want. I don't necessarily send them anything, but they've got it there if they need to log in and have a look. So yeah, it's definitely very dependent on who. Yeah.
When it comes to having spokespeople for the dealerships you've sort of talked about, there's a lot of content that they're putting together themselves.
Yeah.
Finding the right people.
Mm-hmm. We definitely have dealerships where there is like one person that does everything because no one else wants to get involved. Again, examples, I went to a show the other week and two of them said, I just do not want to be in video, it's not my thing. That's fine, that's okay. But yeah, it's like I said, I think it's becoming more of something they have to do as part of their job.
It's something that I've been reading about that is starting to become part of people's contracts in most sort of roles, where you have to kind of try and have a bit of a profile within what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think as well, like, service engineers, they tend to be a bit of they don't really like doing stuff like that, but people love to see those guys. Those are the people that are on farm all the time. They're the ones that they're probably calling on a Sunday morning. It's so
got the interesting stories.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you have to really manage people, and I feel like I try to come down to their level a little bit and just be like, I hate it too, and I'm really sorry, and I know that I'm behind the camera, but it'll just take 2 seconds, and you're just trying to be fun and not too formal. And I think as well, that's where the type of content that I do does come into its own, is that I'm not trying to produce something that's super corporate. We're trying to have fun with it. It's down to earth, yeah, and it's fun, and again, like, we do a lot of fun stuff with some of the dealers and like trending things and stuff like that. And again, they say they don't love it, but they love it.
You can see there's always a bit of a twinkle in their eyes when the videos
100%.
come out. It's like, oh, you did,
Exactly.
you enjoyed it. That trends thing is really interesting, because I think you can have fun with social media from that sense. What have you found works really well? Is there something that you've kind of used across different businesses where you've gone, that's a bit of a winning formula?
I think it's awful, isn't it? I go through TikTok saving loads of different ones and go, well, I can't use that for them and I can only use that for them. And it's trying to like shift it around so everyone gets a piece of the pie, but you're like trying to do fun stuff with everyone. But I definitely think like with specifically one of the dealers, they're very game to do fun stuff. So like anything that gets the whole team involved, and some of the just fun music, and not any dances or anything. But, like I think one time we did one of the speed tours. So like, there's a guy and he just runs around houses on TikTok. He's from America and he just does a speed tour, and I was like, what is this? The salesman told me about it, and I was like, let's give it a go, And we did it, and it absolutely went wild, and it was just like. Cool. And I think that's good as well. I'm happy to do whatever they suggest as well. If they've seen something, and again, I think they like that because you're open to their thoughts and ideas because, I can't see every trend. And
it also gets buy-in that when you then ask them to do something, they're more willing to. But also if something that they've suggested takes off, there's a bit of that.
Absolutely. But I also do usually take donuts with me whenever I go for a content day. You're only allowed one if you do that video.
Just hold them at the end.
Exactly.
Watching the stuff that you produce, it always makes me smile. You can tell that you've all enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
And I guess you've said about you're constantly saving TikToks, but how do you keep, especially with social media, those ideas going? Because it is such a constant. It is
constant. It's very constant. I've constantly got notes, just constantly. But I do also. I do also have a lady that for 4 years probably just helped me with my admin. And in the last year, because I've taken on more work and more clients, she now helps me a little bit. So we have monthly meetings where she keeps me in check. Thank God. And we will. Yeah, she's like. Mary, send me that right now because you said you were going to say that and you didn't. And so that's helped me a lot. Become more organised as well because it can be quite sporadic. And obviously you've got 10 different clients, but not just 10 different people. You've got potentially 3 different salesmen in each of those 10 different clients. You've got probably 5 service engineers minimum. You've got a parts person. So you've potentially got like 15 to 20 people of each of those clients contacting you. So it is, my WhatsApp is labelled, my notes section every client has a running note, so it's probably a bit chaos really, if I'm being honest.
How I operate a lot of things.
I'm winging it, I
think we all are. So we've covered social media quite a lot, but as you mentioned at the start, there's a lot of other sort of bits to the full picture that you do. When it comes to, and I know it's sort of quite specific with machinery, there's so much technicality to it. Translating that from what I assume you get given in terms of sort of specs and all of this kind of thing into something that is understandable and more, not salesy because that's not what I mean, but
easily digestible.
Easily digestible.
Yeah, that can be quite difficult. And to be fair, I do lean on, I have a background in machinery, I grew up in farming, but I don't drive tractors like I used to. So I probably I'm missing a little bit of that practicality now in my sort of last couple of years. But I would say I lean on the guys very much. I have a good relationship with, so even if it's a brand I don't work with, I work with the dealer, but I don't necessarily work directly with that manufacturer. I still have a good relationship with the manufacturers. I feel like I can email them, I can phone them and ask them, or could you just go through this with me? Also, it does help that my husband also works in machinery, and he's engineering background, and so I can just ask him as well, and that is it's so handy. But genuinely, I don't think I would be where I was without him helping me with that as well, because his knowledge is, he's very knowledgeable in terms of stuff like that. But he also works for a global brand, and so he understands from that perspective. We have constant arguments about how the dealer, the manufacturer, but
bet that means you get that frustration out as opposed to going 100%. To the actual manufacturer and going, this is not right.
Isn't it? but
it's tempting.
It is. But it's so good because he kind of changes my perspective sometimes on things, and I maybe change his. So he's like, as much as he's my husband, he's still a huge part of my business. And if anything happens, I'm not sure about or anything, I will ring him first. I send him all my stuff to read over, like everything. So that definitely helps. Like some recent press days that I did for like a new telehandler, I was like, I don't quite know what this means. Dave, can you help me? Because I can't understand everything. And he's, he helps me understand what that is. So yeah, it's definitely another plus having him at home.
And then in that sort of learning sphere from a job perspective, I mean, we both did the John Deere ag journalism course last year.
Last year.
Okay, it's gone by really quickly. And you just touched upon sort of press days. How do things like that help?
Yeah, I mean,
and
massively.
Is there anything else you do?
Yeah, I mean, that course was completely changed how I think I write, because I kind of saw it from a different perspective as well. And then some of the little hacks and stuff that we learned, I think was really, really important. I wouldn't say it's massively a part of my role that I hugely enjoy. I would say I love more of the social media, the digital kind of stuff like that. But it is important, especially with the manufacturers that I work with. They want press to go out and things like that. So I think stuff like that has definitely helped me. And I've probably been really bad in my whole 6.5 years of not really investing much in myself. And so doing that course for myself has shown me that it's important to do things like that to further my own knowledge. I've still got loads to learn, and things are changing all the time, so I've got to keep up with it. Yeah, because the dealers, your clients are expecting you to. They expect that you know everything, and you don't. So
you've got to pretend you do.
Exactly, and then find out later. Exactly,
go, well,
absolutely.
That thing you asked. If there's one thing that you've taken from your sort of days working in-house from a marketing perspective that you apply now?
Yeah.
Is there anything?
Probably what you just said. Somebody once told me, say yes and then find out later. But I think, like I said about that managing expectations things as well, it's just, I'm the worst critic of myself, and I always feel like I'm not doing a good enough job for people. But then when I think of what I actually churn out for people, it's quite incredible really when it's just me, and then I have Melissa who kind of looks after more of my non-ag clients. But yeah, I would definitely say that it's just sort of asking for help, but also investing in yourself. So it's been a big learning curve, and I'm still very bad at managing and juggling. I mean, it doesn't help having 2 kids, but yeah.
Additional.
But the juggle is just constant. But yeah, I would say, and I think as well, I asked some of my clients recently for some feedback and some reviews, and they specifically said that you are not like a normal marketing agency because you understand our business, but you also understand dealerships, you understand agriculture, and we can't find that anywhere else. So I'm glad that they see that as well, because hopefully it means that they are happy with the job that I'm doing.
It's always nice
Fingers
to check
crossed.
in
Yeah, exactly.
when you get a phone call saying, well. And I'm sort of, to round this off before I do a few quick fire questions, so I will do there's one that you might not be able to answer. Yeah. But going into a bit more of a personal perspective, because you run your own business, you have that balance of having to do so much marketing for other people, but getting yourself out there as well.
Yeah, that's tough.
You do it really well.
Well, I feel like in the last 18 months, I've really, probably a little bit with yourself after meeting you on the course, that investment in your personal brand, I think that's so important. And I never really thought about that much. I feel like it's just chaos, like I'm just putting together random stuff and somehow it looks okay. But I think Melissa, I've got her to help me more with my social media. So she's like, today she'd be like, where's your photos from cereals? Like, and so because I'm telling her, right, this is what I'm doing this month, and I'll make sure I send you that. And then I never do. And then so she's a brilliant help in terms of that. But yeah, building my personal brand, I think, has been really important. And I have never had such a busy year. So I think that's definitely helped. And that's why I wanted to ask clients recently, like for reviews, because obviously that's a huge part of it. I could say all I want about I'm great, but it's like they kind of need to say it as well. Exactly. So yeah, I'd say that's probably very important. Yeah.
It's a balance, because I think I've spoken to a few people in that situation where they sort of feel guilty sometimes for putting focus on their own work if they are working with a client, because it's like, if I post something but I've not sent them their
100%, and I feel that. I've felt that recently. I've been doing a bit of a TikTok series of like, come with me to this, come with me to that, and I've felt like, well, I've got to make sure that all the clients' content is done before I post anything about like myself, because I don't want them to think, oh, Mary's just posting her TikTok of her day and she's not actually sent us anything. So yeah, I just but also half of the stuff I put into stuff like that is stuff I've taken anyway. And to be fair, everyone's pretty, you know, everyone's very, very relaxed with it, so they don't really you know, they're not really bothered about me utilizing that. You know, it might just be a close-up of a tractor or whatnot. It's not anything confidential or, you know, it's completely unique. So yeah, but it's just constant. The content is constant. Yeah, and that is the one thing, is I'm like, can I be bothered doing this when I do so much for other people? I'm just like, I feel like I'm a bit of a content machine sometimes.
Just about having somebody else.
But yeah, and seeing again, it's completely right. I see it works. So, you know, it's the same with my clients. They see it works and they do it more. I'm seeing it's working, so I need to do it more. And I want to keep going for another 6.5 years, so I need to keep
it going. Yeah, definitely. I guess on that point, where would you like to see sort of your business and what you're doing in 6.5 years' time?
I'd love to work with someone overseas. That would be like, if I looked at my vision board, you know, I'd love to work with someone overseas. But just keep doing what I'm doing, but keep doing it well. I think when I think about when I started the business where I am now, I never thought, you know, it was my dream to work with a global tractor brand, and I'm doing that. And so that is a huge step forward for me. And also working with brands that I get on with and personally can, you know, align with. I think, you know, I've definitely parted ways with people over the last 6 years that just don't really work. And that's the beauty of being your own boss, is you can do that. So I think just I'd like to work with less people but do more for them. That's my goal going forward, because you can be a bit of a busy fool, and I'm definitely one of those.
Fair enough. Okay, quick fire.
Oh God.
Piece of advice you'd give to somebody else starting out in marketing in this industry?
Build your network. The people that you know, especially in agriculture, if that would be what someone was doing, but I suppose in any industry, people who it is who you know. Very much from when I was in university to now, I am where I am today because of the placement that I did at Harper, 100%. Like, all of the clients that I have are through those sorts of people. So yeah, just be open, and like I said, just say yes and learn how to do it afterwards. Genuinely, it's a great piece of advice.
Favorite piece of content you've put out?
Oh gosh. Oh my God, that's a really hard one. There is actually, and it's not necessarily agricultural related. I did a video for like an aggregates company who have big trucks, and they do like stone and topsoil and stuff like that. And I basically did a film for their website where it was just their story and like stuff. And I went to their yard and we got drone shots and we got interviews with them and stuff like that. And it was just like I was just really proud of it. It looked really good. So I was like, did I do that? So yeah, I'm pretty proud of that.
Okay. We're at an event, we're at Cereals. What is your favourite agricultural event?
I do love a bit of llama. Yes. I do love llama. I do. Answer. Yeah, I would say if we're talking about agriculture event, it's got to be llama.
Didn't plan
for me.
that.
Yeah, well, you know, you pay you after whatever.
And this is the one where you might not be okay to answer. Do you have a favourite tractor?
I'm going to put it out there. I have a favourite tractor. I like a Fendt 724.
But I'm nodding along as if I'm...
But I feel like, and I'm not saying this from a biased perspective, I think Deutz Fahr is a brand to watch.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for chatting to me. It's been really interesting, and I've learned so much, which has actually been really, really nice. So
thank
you so much
for
for joining.
Thank you.